Welcome to Capes and Crossovers, the podcast where capes, masks, and multiverses collide. Not with fists or fandom wars, but with heart. I'm Luke Becker, here with my wonderful partner, Marvin Goines. We will be your guides through the wild, wonderful world of Marvel and DC projects. Here, we're ditching the toxicity and embracing the love, the sincerity, and the sheer joy these stories bring to the screen. Whether it's a team-up, a reboot, or a universe-shattering showdown, we're diving in with open minds and full-on fandom. Grab your popcorn. Suit up. And let's explore these worlds together. Because, at the end of the day, it's all about the stories that unite us. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. We are back. Episode 3 of Capes and Crossovers. Now, today is going to be a fun episode because since last time, we got a long list of Avengers Doomsday castings. There were chairs, a tiny Paul Rudd chair, and so much more. It was quite the experience. I was at work as all this was happening, and oh my God, I was just so thrown off my whole day. I'm talking to my kids about it at work because I'm a teacher. I'm like, guys, look at this. It was a wild ride, man. And I think I just want to get right into it, honestly. That's like the number one thing I want to get to. But Marvin, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's just funny. You and I were both in classrooms, but for different purposes. You were teaching and I was
Yes,
learning. But it
right.
was funny because I'm like, I got my Apple Watch on, right? And I just look down every like half hour, like, oh, Paul Rudd. Oh, Winston Duke. Oh, Joseph Quinn. I'm like, damn, that's a hell of a way to start. But no, I'm doing good, man. I'm just a lot of stuff has happened. We were gonna try to record after that big announcement, but life got in the way and I had
Yeah,
to nap. So, we're talking about it now though. And
yeah.
and so much has come out in between then and now that we have plenty to talk about. So what about you? How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Busy as always, but getting to do this kind of thing is a great escape from the reality of life, man. Because as soon as I'm done here, I'm getting back to work. But you know what? I'm enjoying this break because there's so much we can dive into with these castings. I mean, 27 names, and that's not even the whole cast. That's
There's no way
just
that's the whole
no,
cast.
no, and it's just part of the cast. And I mean, there's obviously a number of surprises, but oh my God, I'm so happy about some of the names on here, some that were related to worlds outside of the MCU, and some that were in the MCU that I wasn't fully sure would be in the movie that I'm so thrilled about. So, you
I
just want
gotta
to kind
ask
of,
you,
yeah, go ahead.
which was the most surprising one to you? I'll give you up to three because I have three in my mind. I'm like, I can't believe they did it. I'm glad they did it, but I can't believe it. But I'll let you go first.
Okay. Alan Cumming definitely was like a whoa. I mean,
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting someone like McKellen either, but that's also like such a big name that I was like, oh, they might bring in like a Magneto. But did I
Mhm.
think they were gonna go for Alan Cumming's Nightcrawler? No, I did not at all. And honestly, another name that not like the biggest surprise, but honestly, I wasn't so sure they were gonna bring him back right for this. Namor. I
Yeah.
didn't think we were gonna see that character back for Doomsday. I thought this was gonna be a character they might ship away for another project down the line. Not especially because we heard they were being a little more selective in regards to like maybe Moon Knight and some of that horror side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I thought maybe he might not fall into that category, but he could be in that category of we have another story we can tell with him at a later time. But no,
Yeah.
he's in the movie too. And I guess if I had to pick one more, I mean James Marsden, man. I mean, it's one that like part of me in my heart knew like it was possible for sure, especially once we got to that point in the
Hmm.
video. But at the same time, it was just so shocking because it just hit me like, oh my God, we're gonna get a proper James Marsden Cyclops in the MCU. Because man, he was always so great for that role, but they just never let him do what he clearly could do. He never got to really fulfill his potential in that role. And the fact that we're actually going to have that opportunity now, whether it comes to the combat, maybe closer to what we saw in X-Men 97, because man, they made him
That
so
was
badass,
great.
so
Yeah,
badass in that show. And also an accurate costume like we just got with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Oh my God. The possibilities are just endless. And the fact that we're going to see some of these people that maybe didn't get the justice they deserved in their movies finally get that opportunity now in this Avengers Doomsday movie and maybe in Secret Wars. That's just a dream come true for fans like me, man. It really is. What about you? What were the three most surprising?
uh, you said one of them,
Okay.
Namor.
Yeah.
That was the one I was like, I'm pleasantly surprised to hear that he's going to be a
Yeah.
part of this movie, because that means there's a great chance he can interact with Susan Storm. I
Mhm.
really wanted, I mean, imagine like I want to see Reed a little jealous, just like a little bit, just for the fun of it, because I want to see Pedro's like reaction and acting from that and what they do with the character.
Mhm.
Um, but the ones I'll tell you the two that really surprised me
Okay.
more than anything have to be Rebecca as Mystique,
Yeah.
because that was never on my radar, not even a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good call.
And then hands down, Channing Tatum back as Gambit. I'm like, wow. I'm not surprised that he's back, but the fact that they're putting him in and saying it now, that's the
Yeah.
surprising part to me. And I'm so happy because everybody knows he really wanted to do it. He never got that movie, but then he got the opportunity to play the character, loved it. Everybody loved it. They wanted more. So they're literally giving us what we want.
Hmm.
So for me, it has to be those three. Looking at the rest of the list, I'm not even remotely surprised. The only I'm going to give a shout out to would be M'Baku.
Yeah.
I was like, cool, great. I love the character. I love Winston Duke, so I'm happy to see him in there. But like looking at the rest of the list, I'm like, yeah, none of these really surprise me. Although your shout out of Cyclops is a nice one, but I'm not too surprised because he's younger. No, he's
Right.
not younger, but
Yeah.
he's not like Patrick Stewart or Ian McKellen that you're like, we got to do it now before the opportunity is gone forever. I hate to say it,
Yeah.
but I mean,
No, but yeah.
life is life. I mean, these gentlemen are both in their late 80s. Like,
Right.
this is your chance. Do it now, because you could always use James in 10 years, 15 years from now. The only thing he does is Sonic, which is great, but I mean that's the only thing that really keeps him busy. And
Mm.
it's so funny looking back at the interviews he did for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, where they asked him about X-Men. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that. Liar. He's not the werewolf either, huh?
That's what I'm saying, man. These actors are just professional liars now. It's hilarious. I mean, you just don't know who to trust at this point. I mean,
That's
but
their
you're,
job, though.
yeah,
That's their
right,
job
of
is to
course.
convince you of other things. I
Yes.
mean, if
And they
anything,
do
it's
it.
just a testament to their talent.
Yes. Yeah, no, they're doing their jobs to the best of their ability. That is for sure, both on screen and off screen. But as far as this list though, yeah, those are the main surprises. I mean, the one that excites me a lot though, I will say, I'm super interested to see how Sentry interacts with the rest of this
I was
world
literally
now.
thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, out
Right?
of anybody, I'm like, Century, I'm like, that's got my attention. That I'm
Yeah.
looking at that.
Because, oh my God, Sentry, I mean, look, we obviously haven't seen the movie yet. I don't know exactly how they're going to power scale Sentry in
Yeah.
regards to like the rest of this universe. Because, man, if you're going off the comics, like Sentry is the most powerful character in Marvel, period. Like, that's not even an
Yeah.
exaggeration. Like, you can legitimately make that case. So, I'm interested to see where they decide to deviate as far as the power set goes. Because, man, if Sentry's even close to as strong as we've seen in the comics. Sentry is gonna,
Everybody's on
yeah,
side.
right, yeah. Like it's funny. I remember people were talking about this when this whole list came out. We're gonna talk more about the potential X-Men versus Avengers premise later, but people were like, "Man, Sentry could throw a whole wrench in a fight like that." Oh my God, like it's crazy. Sentry's just the biggest game changer as far as what he could do in a potential fight like this against a Doctor Doom or the X-Men or any antagonist that comes up. And I guess the volatile situation there could be the fact that Sentry obviously doesn't have full control of what he's doing, and I suppose that could make him a dangerous player in this, not just for the antagonist, but for the Avengers themselves. So you got to see how the movie wraps up in Thunderbolts, obviously, and how his character is left off at the end of that. But yeah, I mean, I'm super interested, man, because man, it's again a strong character, but also just a well-written character, in my opinion, at least. I know not everyone resonates with him, but I love
Mhm.
his story.
I'm gonna have to read it. It's
Yeah.
amongst a very long list that
Yes.
continues to grow, like Captain America's. One thing I want to point out just for the listeners, not so much us, because we obviously know.
Yeah.
But there's a cool blend of properties in this movie.
Hmm.
You have the Avengers, obviously, because it's an Avengers movie, but you have the Fantastic Four involved, all four. You have the Thunderbolts coming off of their movie into this one, and then obviously X-Men. I mean, these are like some of the biggest names. I mean, they are the biggest names in Marvel Comics. Like these, when you go to the newsstand, those are the ones that are up top, and they sell the most. They're there, so
Hmm.
it's really cool to finally see them not just exist, but coexist and intermingle in the end
Right.
towards towards one common goal, which is Doom of all things. I mean, that's just going to be so much fun because it's not like we're just getting Fantastic Four and Doom like we did in the early 2000s. We're getting the Avengers with Doom, Thunderbolts with Doom, X-Men with Doom. I mean, these are just going to be. I have a feeling this movie, and there's going to be so many moments that are going to like equal to what Infinity War were like and Endgame with, having these characters meet, having these characters interact, having these moments happen. Like this movie absolutely has the potential to do that all over again.
That's a great call. I mean, seeing all these different worlds intertwine against this major threat is always exciting. That's what made Infinity War so fun when we saw the Guardians come into play with the Avengers and all those different people that we had. I mentioned this last time, all these different people that hadn't had interactions yet finally had those interactions, and you see the chemistry that plays between the actors, and it makes it so much more fun and exciting. And looking at Thunderbolts specifically, honestly, I'm not going to spoil where that movie seems to be heading, but if it ends the way that it seems like it might, I think there's going to be an extremely fun dynamic between them and
Another
Steve.
team.
Yeah, and another team.
Yeah.
I think that there's going to be some real drama there, and I think that could help really make the payoff of that movie be better because I know that that's always been the big concern for people, including myself, that is the payoff really going to be there for a lot of these characters and for the story they're trying to build? That's one area where I think they're probably going to do well because I think there's a clear story and thread going on between that movie into Doomsday as
Mm-hmm.
far as who's going to be there to stop the threat of Doom. Who is Earth calling on to do that? Who is uh, Valentina call? Is that her name in the movie? Or am I bugging? I'm forgetting now.
Val. It's
Yeah,
Val.
yeah, Val. So, is she going to be the one calling on the Thunderbolts to potentially stop the incoming threat of Doom, or is the Avengers going to get in the way of that? Like, there's a lot of different interesting character dynamics that could come into play there. So that's exciting, and obviously the Fantastic Four, a whole another group from a different universe coming into the fold. That's going to be extremely fun. On top of again the X-Men now from another universe, which hey, it might be the alternate Days of Future
Days of
Past
Future
timeline.
Past. Yeah,
That's
I
that's
love
been
that theory.
yeah,
I
I
love it.
love it so
I'm with it.
much.
I'm with it.
That would be such a genius way to connect the dots, man. I would be so, so happy about that. And also, I mean, I don't think you bring back some of these cast members if it's not that, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
especially like Alan Cummings' Nightcrawler. Like, why would you bring that particular iteration of a character in if it's not going to be from that specific timeline? Otherwise, why would you not just cast someone new for that universe, if anything? Like, that's what I would do at least. Like, why not?
Yeah. Another thing to think about, because I mean it's kind of obvious, is if all these people are going to be meeting each other, that means there's one strong thing that's going to happen in this film, and that's incursions. It's a
Yes.
topic that's just like obviously been a core part of this multiverse saga from the beginning. Um, Starting with kind of Wanda messing around with it, followed up with Steven, bringing up the topic and what it is about, and then uh, Spider-Man causing potentially three of them because he brought in other Spider-Men, So then you have these X-Men. You also have Monica with the X-Men. So I wonder if there's always a chance, because this is a question I was going to pose, is that if
Mhm.
any of these actors are playing variants, like sure, we're going to get Professor X, but we got a variant of him in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and he died,
Mhm.
like Professor X tends to do in all these movies for some weird reason.
Yes.
Like, are we going to get also the one that we remember, love and remember from the X-Men movies from the early 2000s, along with another one that we could be getting, along with another Magneto and the original Magneto? It's just something I've thought about throughout the last week, because I wouldn't be surprised if in this universe that Monica's in, obviously her mom's alive and she's, you know, binary
Hmm.
in this one, that there's going to be Avengers and there's going to be Fantastic Four and there's going to be Thunderbolts in that universe as well.
Right. Hmm.
I mean, that's one thing to think right from the get go, because when we see Beast, he's not the only person in the room. You have binary. So that means in this world or in that universe, a lot of things exist that exist in the main world that we, have watched over the last 15 years.
Hmm.
So just something to think about. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get more variants of Loki. I mean, the fact that we're getting Loki alone um, kind of really makes me think that we're going to get variants of multiple characters. Maybe not every single one of them,
Hmm.
but a lot of them we should.
Right. That's going to be an interesting dynamic to consider because, you don't want to lose sight of the plot in doing stuff like
Mhm.
that when you're throwing in all these different variants of different characters. And if you're going to do that, I really want it to have some sort of value to the movie. I don't mind it, obviously, and it's all about how it's done within the context of the story you're telling. But I don't want it to be, oh wow, there's three Captain Americas, or oh my
Yeah.
God, there's three Tony
Yeah.
Starks and one's Tom Cruise. Like, like that stuff could be fun sometimes, obviously. I get it. There's fan service is a good thing, and I stand by that. Like, I'm a fan. Service me. Like,
Yeah.
I want that, but I don't want it at the expense of other things. I think you can do both, and I think that's what Infinity War and Endgame did so well. They had a lot of moments of fan service, but
But they
like,
split it up where you were
right.
still going through a
Yes.
storyline. No, I'm with you 100% on this.
Yeah.
Um, and that's probably why, well, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up breaking this thing into two movies somewhere along the way. I mean, if they don't, that's fine. Like they got plenty enough to make one movie right now. But if they come out and say, "Hey, we're breaking this up into two parts," I wouldn't get mad at them because there's just more chance to see a little bit more of other stuff.
Right. And the other interesting thing to consider here is that this is something we're going to talk about a little more later, but Spider-Man 4 as the bridge between them very well could play a factor in the fact that they may not need a part two of Secret Wars because
Perhaps.
this is perhaps a spoiler, but like, I mean, not even a full spoiler, but this is something that's out there that's been talked about, but there's a real chance that Doom is in Spider-Man 4. Like a legitimate chance.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, the reason why there's
Well, you know what I mean. I haven't
yeah,
heard
right.
that one, I should say.
Well, the reason why it's a real chance is because I remember when this is back in October, like this is a while ago, but there was like one of those production grids that came out in October of 2024.
Hmm.
And it was for the new Spider-Man movie, and everyone assumed it was fake. Like everybody. But people went back to it now, and in that production grid, it's titled Spider-Man Brand New Day. And on top of that, it specifically mentions a character that's an unfamiliar person that very much sounds like it could be the Sadie Sink character.
Okay.
And they mention additional cast members, and it says RDJ as Doctor Doom on that grid.
It's one of those things that sounds so fake, but it ends up
Right,
being real. Just like the
exactly.
fact that RDJ was playing Doom to begin with. Remember that
Yes.
Snyder said it like the day before, and he's like, "I don't know, guys." But then, literally a day
Yeah,
later, it happens. So I'm like, okay, well, that's not too surprising,
yeah,
but okay, cool. That's fun to know. Um, so I don't want to spend too much time on Doomsday because we got so many other things to talk about, but there's like a couple things I definitely want to
yeah,
go
yeah.
through. And one of them is, do you think there's any significance whatsoever in the order that they listed the characters? Because there's a couple things to like look at. So one thing I noticed, they kind of knocked out the Avengers in the beginning, and then they spread out the Fantastic Four. They put like, a few characters, there was Sue, a handful of characters, and then there's the Thing, a few more characters, and then Johnny, and then at the very end, right before they, announced RDJ as Doom, they had Mr. Fantastic last. But if you look right before it, they literally do one, two, three, four, five, six mutants in a row, and
Hmm.
OG mutants, not like some of the other ones, because they announced Kelly Grammer early on, and they announced who else? Nope, that was pretty much it. And then they just started with, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Alan, Rebecca, James, and Channing. Like, I just found it kind of interesting that they kind of split it up a little bit, like started with the Avengers and then split up with the Fantastic Four inserts. And they kind of did a similar skipping method with the Thunderbolts as well. Like there was Yelena, then they waited a little bit, Sentry, a couple more, Red Guardian. So you think there's anything for it, or it's just
I don't think there's any real significance. I mean, obviously there's a little bit of an order, like you said, like they bunched those X-Men together outside of Kelsey Grammer, who we knew about already. So
Hmm.
like that side of it's intentional, but do I think that it's in any order of like their significance to the movie? No, I do not. I think
Okay.
that side of it I think is pretty random. And as far as which actors they chose to specifically reveal here, I think even that's pretty random, honestly. I think that
Yeah.
my honest opinion from the very beginning, I said I think these are pretty much just the cast members that are either signed on already or the cast members that are simply there for the start of production and are going to be filming right away. And I think
Gotcha.
that would explain like why someone like Tom Holland isn't there. Tom Holland is filming The Odyssey right now, so
Yeah.
he's going to come on to set a little later into production. So like I think that would make sense as a potential explanation for why they're not doing it all at once. Oh, as well as the fact that honestly, for marketing, it probably makes sense to not do it all
I
at
think for a
once.
marketing
So
stance, it
yeah,
just makes
right.
sense. Like, oh, Chris Hemsworth. People know and love Chris Hemsworth. He's Thor. He's been Thor, and then
Yeah.
here's some other exciting ones. So okay, it's just a thought. I was like, you never
Yeah,
know. There's
yeah.
always little things to look at and find,
Right.
and hey, maybe we'll look back at this in 2 years
Oh
from now and be
yeah.
like, wow, we were onto something. We were onto
Yeah.
something. We just didn't know at the time. But then at the end, they had Robert himself come out and sit on the chair. Well, of course, the rest of them were empty, but then he does a shh, which I found I, I I have a bad habit of reading too much into things.
Mhm.
But do you think there's anything there, like Secret Wars? Maybe he's like, there's a secret there, and we're just missing it, and it's obvious. I don't know. I overthink things. I can't
No,
help
but like that's the whole point of this. I mean, we're supposed to read into the dumb things because we're nerds that want to know everything. But
it. Yeah.
like, I don't know exactly what it could be. I mean, my gut would say it is nothing, but at the same time, like Marvel loves to sneak in little things like that actually do have meaning. And like you said, you may not realize it for another year or two. So like, could there be some level of significance to that I'm not seeing right now? Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
it's very possible. And you know what? And it's funny, actually, that whole thing is actually very, very reminiscent of when we got the Agatha all along reveal and Agatha turns around the chair. Like I thought it was actually very similar to that as far as like the look of it. Not saying there's any actual connection, just thought it was a funny little parallel that a couple people pointed out to me. I was like, oh yeah, actually that's very similar.
Yeah. Well, so the reason why I bring this up is you have to go back about 6 years. Before Endgame came out, they posted this picture
Hmm.
and they said the title of the movie's here, and the set spelt out the word Endgame.
Hmm.
Do you remember this?
I actually don't. No, well, at the time, because that was around 2018 probably when
Yeah.
that came out. So I was not like I was a Marvel fan for sure, but I was not so ingrained into it the way I am now, where I would see like that kind of stuff. I was just like following as a casual up
I
until like
gotcha.
post Endgame, ironically. Yeah.
So before Endgame was titled, people were like all over trying to figure out what's the name of this movie, what's the name of this movie, and they gave two hints. They're like, one, we posted a picture of it, and two, it was set in Infinity War. Obviously, Stephen Strange goes, "That's the end game, right?" And when he puts up the finger, so it was just that's why I'm reading so much into it because they've done it before, and I wouldn't put it past them to do it again. But that's the only reason why I want to discuss this because I was like, maybe I don't know, but we're gonna look back at this in a year and a half from now and be like, man. So the final thing, and it's obviously the most obvious thing in them all, but there's no way this isn't setting up some form of Avengers versus X-Men.
Yeah.
You've got incursions happening. You have all these OGs. You got the new ones. Everybody coming up for this big film. So, what do you think? Do you think there's a little bit of Avengers versus X-Men happening here?
I think this has to be Avengers versus X-Men with Doctor Doom clearly pulling the strings and manipulating everybody a bit here. And I think that's really smart on their end because my one concern again was that we would not have a clear emotional connection to a lot of what's going on if
Mhm.
just because of the fact we haven't had enough build up with certain characters in the way we did previously with the OG Avengers. But to have pre-established characters come into the fold as part of the story that we have a nostalgia factor for, but B genuine love for with some of those characters and seeing them go against other characters that we already have a love for. I think that's going to be a great conflict of emotions, similar to what many fans felt during Civil War, where like what side am I on? I don't know. I love this character. I love this character. I grew up with the X-Men, but I also love the Avengers. Like I think it could create a lot of fun emotional conflicts for the audience. So that's super smart on their end from a storytelling perspective and just an emotional perspective. But I think it has. What else could you really do beyond just fan service and showing like their world in danger or them? I guess they can work together from the get-go to fight Doom, but I don't really see that happening, honestly. I mean, it just wouldn't be as compelling as the alternative of Avengers versus X-Men to me. I think that's a far more interesting story.
Okay. So I don't know if we've ever had this chance to tell you this, but like I grew up watching the X-Men movies. I got them on DVD.
Mhm.
Like, my sister and I went and watched the Wolverine movies in theaters. It like X-Men means a lot to me because that and original Spider-Man is what really got me into comics and comic movies and everything. And then there was like a little pause where there wasn't a whole lot going on. And then this little movie called Iron Man came out that brought me right back into the fold. But that love came from X-Men. I remember
Right.
when we were super young and lived in Costa Rica, we were watching X-Men animated series in Spanish back there, and that was one of our favorite things as well. So like with 97 coming back, with the X-Men in full force coming back, with new X-Men on the horizon, very far horizon, but on the horizon, it's cool to see it come full circle. Like from when I was younger to seeing it still happen, and I just have a really good feeling how special this movie is going to be because of them bringing them all back on.
Me too. I've had my reservations, but the more that we're learning about this movie and just seeing the potential implications of this plot with all these new castings, I am way more optimistic than I would have been if you asked me about 2 months ago, honestly.
Okay. So I'm gonna say while we're still on that Marvel gear,
Yeah.
we want to talk a little bit about Daredevil last week.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Oh my God. Two episodes
So
that were so different, but so awesome.
both were great. I really enjoyed the bank episode because it
Yeah.
had the stuff I love. Matt being Matt, not Daredevil, but Matt being Matt. As long with being Daredevil there at the end, it was just great. And the fact that you got Yusuf Khan in there, you know, Kamal Khan's dad, and like linking that together to put him part of the wider universe, like it's they've been doing it little by little. I mean, obviously we know this is in the MCU, but like the mention of the scrolls, and then um now this, like it's just cool to see it all blend in, and it's not like bashing you over the head like, hey, he's part of the MCU now. It's like, hey, look, hey,
Mhm.
he's part of the MCU now. We're incorporating it little by little, making it better. I found it interesting how Kamala's dad was saying that she was in California visiting friends.
Mhm.
As we recall at the end of Miss Marvel, that Bruno decided to take the offer and go to Caltech, which
Mhm.
is outside of LA from what I looked up. And people are already speculating, oh, she's, some of the young Avengers. She started doing that back in the Marvels. Let's be honest. She
Mhm.
started doing that back in the Marvels, but it's just cool because LA from San Francisco is like 3 or 4 hours. So maybe she goes and talks to Cassie. I mean, she's aware of
Right.
her existence. She's brought her up. So she's
Mhm.
probably like, hey, I'm going to go to California. I'm going to make this detour and find this girl while I'm there.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very real possibility, and that's exciting because as we get towards these Avengers movies we were just discussing, the young Avengers are going to play some kind of role in it. So, planting little seeds like that along the way is fun. The fact that she might be recruiting a castie, like you were saying, I think that would be awesome. And, episode 5, I agree. Oh my God, I adored it. I love such a fun little self-contained story like this. I know this is what many people would consider to be, like filler, but I don't really see it as that at all. I mean, it's clearly showing Matt continuing to come out of his shell, getting closer to being Daredevil. And on top of that, you're just getting such fun character moments with him, seeing, like you said, what Matt Murdock is about, how he handles himself as a man. And I especially love the moment where, I mean, it kind of goes without saying that somebody like him would do this, but where they were gonna let him go and alongside the woman, but she wanted to go with her husband, and he's like, "Yeah, no, take me." He's gonna take him instead. Like, I prefer you take him. I want to stay.
Mm.
And even though that's something he would do because he's this hero, little moments like that are just so nice to see a clear display of heroism that really continues to build this character in such a beautiful way. And oh my God, the fight scenes were so fun. The way they utilize his powers, especially in that episode, were
With the
awesome.
safe.
Yes, with the safe and the one fight they had before that where everything was like dead silent outside of like a couple little key elements. The way they play with the sound design in this show is at its
Is
best.
awesome.
It's better
Yes,
than even what they did in the original show. Like
for sure.
they're doing so much creative stuff on that end that it's really elevated what Matt Murdock and Daredevil is all about. So yeah, no, episode 5 is a absolute home run for me while expanding on his character, but also expanding, like you said, on the world of the MCU by including Kamala's dad in this. And I love their chemistry too. They were so fun to see interact throughout that whole episode, and perhaps we might see Matt interact with Kamala in season 2. We got a
I
little
hope he
tease.
actually goes to dinner with them because that would
Yeah.
be one of the coolest things ever. Um, Another thing that I thought about is episode 6 doesn't happen without episode 5, because
Yes.
that's where, as you know, like you mentioned earlier, that it's been chipping away at him little by little. But I think that was like finally the straw that broke the camel's back. That was the one that said, "All right, I'm putting that suit back on. I'm getting to work because there's just no way I can't not do it."
Right.
Right? You
Yeah,
can't.
right.
It's not disrespect to Foggy, but it's just knowing that there's a need for him, and he's aware of that. The people are literally asking for it in one of those 2 episodes. I want to say the 6th one that
Mhm.
they said we need somebody to come up.
Right. Yeah, and looking ahead to episode 6, early on in the episode, he's praying, and for all the talk of they're getting rid of the religious side of Matt Murdock in the show, not at
Nope,
all. I
not
mean,
even a little bit.
is there a little less emphasis than in previous seasons? Sure, but I think that's inherent because of the fact that A, he largely has lost his faith after what happens in episode 1 with Foggy, but also, he also doesn't have Father Lanton anymore.
Yeah,
That was a big factor. He would talk to him all the time in the original show. Now that he's gone, he doesn't have that person to talk to, so it's not exactly the same situation for him anymore. So I think that's kind of natural that something like that has happened, but it's still in there regardless. And the fact that he's praying in the way he does, I think you can see the struggle within him. And I think if you jump to that from episode 4 to 6, it doesn't feel as compelling if you don't include what happens in episode 5 in the middle. I think that's
right.
pretty important. Even though I understand what people say when there's like a tonal disparity between the two, because yeah, sure, episode 5, I will say, is very tonally different from the rest in a lot of ways. But I don't think that's a bad thing because you're placing Matt Murdock in different situations and different scenarios. And he's going to respond to those different scenarios based on those set of circumstances. So in that particular storyline, I think he was acting the way he should. I think it was very natural for where he was at that moment. So I have no issue with it. It's one thing if he's making a bunch of quips and it doesn't feel like Matt Murdock anymore, sure. But same way we saw Matt Murdock in She-Hulk, to me that still felt exactly like Matt. It never felt like we deviated. It just felt like a different context for him. So I have no issues with episode 5, and episode 6 really does a great job of building off of that with his struggle as we're seeing him break into Daredevil and like he says, fuck it. He goes back to wearing the suit and it's
That
such a
was such a great
satisfying
scene.
moment.
I wasn't
Yes.
ready for that. I'm like, Matt? Nope. 3 Hail Marys.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I another thing about that episode is that it showed a little bit of corruption, and it showed a little bit of the issue that New York City's having that just warrants more of the need of him to suit up as Daredevil in the end. But episode 6, that's
Yeah.
a lot, a lot. I want to get one out of the way. I was so happy, and I guess it was known, but I forgot that Tony Dalton was coming back as
Yeah.
Jack Duquesne. I was just like, hey, I love this guy. I'm so happy to see you, because like the opening, I think the very open of the episode is somebody watching like on YouTube a video of, hey,
Yeah.
swordsman. I was like,
Hmm.
oh, no way. And then when they do the turn of phrase and the camera and they show him talking to Fisk, that was just great. That's well done. It doesn't overstay its welcome. He has a reason to be there, a reason to have a conversation with Fisk, and then he just buggers off. And apparently he's supposed to be in another episode, so I'm really excited to see him again.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's
Yeah, I
awesome.
was I was looking at something. It said he's supposed to appear for 2 episodes, and I'm like, great, love it.
Yeah, no, I think that's the kind of stuff where I feel like it's more world building than cameos because like
Yes,
it works within the context of the story, and it's
and
just a
Hawkeye.
yeah, right. It's just a fun little addition to the story. Be like, oh, like this guy's around, like he's still doing his thing, and it makes sense within what's happening. So that's cool. But episode 6, like you said, there's a lot. It's a loaded
So
episode,
much.
and we get our introduction, well, real introduction to Muse
Muse, yeah.
episode, and
Wow.
wow. Yeah, no, I know. It's funny. I talked about this on the Instagram account. I did a video comparing the comics to what I expected Muse to be in the show. And, there's definitely some differences, where we see Muse, well, in the comics, Muse has a very mangled face, very, very creepy zombie looking face almost. And on top of that, they also have a focus where he has powers. He can absorb basically sensory abilities, and so like he can pull in everything essentially like a black hole. Which for
Mhm.
someone like Matt that relies on his senses so heavily, that's a very difficult thing for him to deal with. So that made him a very perfect villain in the comics, and they change it here. He's much more of a grounded serial killer who still has the painting his aspect, obviously. He creates his masterpieces from the blood of humans, which is extremely disturbing. But
Of
yeah,
multiple humans for
yes,
each painting. Yeah, it's not like
many.
he's just using one
No,
body. They
no.
find like 15
60.
different, 16. God,
No, no, there are
16
there are
different
yeah,
DNAs on
right.
one painting.
On
My
one
goodness,
painting, and they go up to 60 dead bodies. There were 60 people he killed, they said.
that's right.
So
Yeah,
like it's a lot of people. And that's when Matt, like I remember when Matt's like, how many are dead? And the dude says 60, and he's just like, whoa. Like he was like in pure disbelief at how this could happen. And the fact, and that's obviously a big part of what brings him back. Like this happened on my watch. Like I'm around, I could have done something, and 60 people are dead.
that
Not
Catholic guilt,
right. And what
classic.
any death is bad, but 60 is like another level. So yeah, I mean, Muse was so cool in this episode, man. So scary, so disturbing in a way that I was so happy with. And the fight between Muse and Daredevil, oh my God.
That
Dude,
was
when
cool.
when he's looking down at the train and you see him slowly running into focus and the music kicks in, dude. Oh my God, that's such a moment. And that whole fight scene was incredible. Dude, it was fantastic. The choreography of it was so cool, and I just love seeing what they do with the Daredevil combat so far. They
They
really,
did one thing I really love though.
yeah,
One thing I've always loved about Matt is him throwing that billy club and knowing his
yes,
angles because he's really good at geometry, apparently,
yes,
not just law, but geometry. And he had that one moment where he threw the wall and it was like bounce, bounce, and
yes,
it hit him in the back of the head because he
right.
does that a lot in the comics, but they didn't do it, I don't think, ever in the Netflix show, maybe a handful of times.
No, it's much
But
more of a
like in
bullseye
that
thing.
was, yeah, that was yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. It was a bullseye thing. I think he
yeah.
picked that up from him and it's like, hey, I can use angles. I bet Matt is probably really good at pool.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Even though he's blind, but I'm sure he's still probably great.
He
But that
plays
was just,
pool in the show.
oh, that's right.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
because he's teaching Karen. Yeah, or
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I do
yeah, he
vaguely
was.
remember
That's
that.
right. That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Man, it's been a while since I've
Yeah.
watched the original series, but yeah. What I thought was cool was that Matt was on that mission to fight Muse because he was trying to find Angela,
hmm
the niece
Yes.
of White
Hector.
Tiger,
Yeah.
Hector Ayala. Yeah. So in the comics, Angela is actually the one that is White Tiger because she gets the amulet from her uncle. So do you think they're setting the stage to her becoming White Tiger and not anytime soon, but eventually one day?
Yeah, I mean she's seen the corruption in the city. Corruption is what took her uncle from her, and now she almost fell victim to this corruption. She almost got killed and became part of one of Muse's paintings. Like,
Mhm.
for her, like she is seeing it up close and too personal. So I don't see a scenario where she doesn't become White Tiger. I mean, it's interesting because there was so much talk like before the show even started filming that they were going to get a big name for White Tiger, and I guess that's the only reservation I could have. Like, would they want a bigger name for White Tiger? Because I remember at one point there were so many rumors about oh, I'm having the
Jenna
biggest brain.
Ortega.
Yes, thank you, Jenna Ortega.
I remember.
That was a massive rumor forever, which
I'm
honestly
so glad I didn't follow through. I'm
I
just
I
relieved to be
fully
honest.
I fully expected that to happen, honestly. I was surprised when it didn't. But yeah, no, this is obviously this is not a big name here. So are they gonna stick with her? I'm guessing so. I don't see them introducing her and not seeing that through, especially after as much as we've seen to this point with that character. So, yeah, I think that would be really great. I think that's what's going to end up happening, if I'm being perfectly honest, and I'm cool with that. Building a brand name out of a character from actor or actress you don't know about is so satisfying, and I think that White Tiger could be that kind of thing because. White Tiger was fairly popular in the comics, and I think she's a
Yep.
really interesting character. And now that we have that background too with Hector Ayala as the White Tiger, which people really loved. I mean, oh my God, people fell in love with that character real quick. So
Yeah.
I don't see people having an issue falling in love with this iteration of the White Tiger now. So yeah, I think it's happening, and I want it to happen ASAP.
So last thing I want to touch upon, and I don't want to go into it too long, but it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
one thing that actually bothered me in this episode was
Okay.
Cole North. He's a character I really like. He was
Right.
introduced by Chip Zdarsky back in 2019,
Mhm.
in the first issue. But the thing was, he left the in the comics, he left Chicago because he made a mistake while he was chasing down a drug dealer, and then he had problems because he didn't like having a partner basically because he just found everybody corrupt, and
Mhm.
then he moved over to New York, and I'm really against the idea that he's part of that anti-vigilante task force, like, and they're making him seem corrupt. I don't know. It's just like that is my only one real issue with not just this episode, but the series as a whole. Like, that's almost everything against what the character stood for.
Right. Right. No, I get that
And
entirely.
that's just me, but
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah, right. Like, look, for you, it's obviously going to be different. You have a deep connection with the character. I haven't read that run. So for me, I just looked at that. I was like, oh, that's another character, another cop. Until I heard other people talk about it. And I was like, oh, I didn't know about this because I've only read like part of the Frank Miller run. I've read basically
yeah,
all of the Charles Soule run. But I still have a lot of Daredevil I need to read myself. So and that's on my list too. I do want to read that Chip and Zardsky run. Yeah,
yeah,
so that is on my list. But
yeah.
yeah, no, I always believe it's fine to deviate with characters, but not deviate to the point of alienating fans. That's where it can become a little dicey. You don't want to lose what the character stands for. You can make changes around that, obviously. I think that's cool. You can do little stuff to change the path towards a character getting to where they are gonna be.
They could
But
redeem him, like you're saying,
right, like if there's a
but right
path
now it's not
there.
looking good.
Right. So could there be a path maybe where maybe next season Daredevil ends up working with this cop who ends up saying, you know what, this is too much for me. I've lost sight of who I am. I need to go back. And then he ends up helping Matt or something and fighting this organization, gives him inside info or something. Yeah,
Hmm.
maybe that's an idea they have. I have no idea. But sure, for you, this is your first time seeing the character. So right now, you know nothing beyond this character that I think is a really genuinely great person in the comic run is being displayed as a bad person, a very bad person. So for you, that's
Yeah,
conflicting and that's natural. So I don't think there's anything wrong with feeling that. But like you said, we got to see where it goes because right now it's early on, but it's a perfectly valid concern to have. Sure.
yeah. I think what bugged me the most was, one, he's working for Kingpin, and like somebody like him should know better, and two, he seemed really smug. Maybe I'm reading too
Yes.
much, but he was like really smug about this,
Yes.
like, oh, I get to beat up people, like, bro,
I noticed that
like,
too. Yeah.
yeah, that Cole North in the comics is nothing like that. He is
Right.
like frustrated with the system. He's trying to take it out from the inside. That's why he aligns with Matt Murdock. Although he doesn't agree with Daredevil, and like that's like the one thing they kept is that he's not crazy about vigilantes, and I understand it. Most cops aren't.
hmm
Uh, but he aligns with Matt because he knows Matt wants the same thing. They have the same goal. They're trying to get rid of the corruption, root it out, and do public service with integrity, honesty, and proper protocols. Like the fact that this dude's being given, blank check to do whatever he wants because the mayor said go for it. It just it hurts to see that. But it's
Yeah.
okay. Like, again, you never know, something at the end of the season and he has a moment of clarity and saying, hey, this isn't for me. And then maybe aligns with Matt in the end. Because like
hmm
in the comics, he ends up working with Matt and Foggy, and you never know where we end up. I just know where I am right now, and I'm just not
Yes.
happy at this moment. That's all.
Yeah, no, no, that's totally valid, man. So I don't blame you for that. But thank you for shedding light on that because honestly, I didn't have much background on that character, so that's good for me to know.
Yeah, he's a cool character, man. Like, the moment you meet him, you're like, he's a hard ass, but I understand it, and I like
Right.
and I respect him for it. I mean, he kind of like they didn't really want to get rid of him, but he kind of did it, put it upon himself. He's like, I can't do it, and just kind of stepped away. But he's a cool character, great addition, and I'm excited for when you read it so you can check it out and
Yeah.
learn more for yourself. Um, so I'm excited for tonight's episode. Obviously, there's
Yes.
gonna be some reviews. They posted a tweet showing that it's titled tonight's episode is titled "Art for Art's Sake." So obviously, it's gonna be a lot more views. I really love the posters and everything they're putting out for this show. It's really cool, like really respectful to the original comics and the art that makes up a huge part of it all.
Hmm. Um, you want to move on to DC?
Yeah, so we kind of have not shown DC much love. So there's some cool stuff. Two, like, we got basically three topics. You wanted to bring this up last week, but we got so enveloped in everything else that we didn't
Yep.
have a chance. But apparently, they have cast Bray Noel to play White Rabbit in Peacemaker season 2. Although it's not officially confirmed, but like somebody tagged her on it, and she like reposted it saying
Yeah.
thank you, and like not
Mhm.
a denial. So clearly,
Right.
like there's something there. I will be honest, I have zero familiarity with White Rabbit. So if you know something, shed light. I'm happy to hear you out.
Very honestly, I have very little background on this character as well, beyond the fact that she is, I believe, a Batman villain technically,
That's all I saw.
and
Yeah.
that I think like she's connected to Mad Hatter, if I recall
That makes
correctly.
sense. That makes
Right.
total sense. Yeah.
But I guess the more exciting part about this is like just looking at the pictures I've seen, she looks like a very comic booky character, and I'm happy that James Gunn is bringing in all these different elements into Peacemaker right now. And
Mhm.
it's interesting because it's a show that like I love season one of Peacemaker.
Oh God, man.
it's literally one of my favorite seasons of television. Period. It's so funny. There's so much heart to it. It represents everything I love about James Gunn. But before I continue to gush on about my favorite director in this genre, I think that season two is such a big mystery. I mean, there's nothing we
Mm.
know about it.
Yeah.
Literally, there's not a single plot element beyond just the presence of Rick Flag Sr. in the show going after Peacemaker because of what happened to his son. That's kind of like the only thing we know about. Beyond that, totally in the dark on this.
And
Even
I'm
as some,
so happy
right?
that
Me
that's the
too.
case.
Yes.
Honestly, I don't want to get like oh, this is what's gonna, no. I think you know, it got spoiled what happened in season 1, unfortunately, like what it was working towards. But that didn't really ruin it for me. But like, imagine going into it not knowing what the hell is going on, because
Yeah.
when the butterfly shows up, you'd be like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this isn't just some simple thing. Like this is way more grandiose and exciting. So but knowing that there's Rick Flag in this makes me excited because that's going to link him from Creature Commandos to Superman and now
Yeah.
Peacemaker.
Right.
So
Frank Grillo's getting that work, man.
he loves it. He clearly loves it. God, he
Yes.
only posted about it 50,000 times on
Right.
Instagram while they were doing it,
He's doing
which is
Waller
cool.
too. Yeah. He's
Yeah, I
doing
mean,
Waller on
like that,
top
you
of that.
want that entire, like, I want that sort of excitement and attitude toward these things.
Yes. No, I could not agree more, dude. I mean, it's going to be really fun, I'm sure. I have no concerns about it. And I hope that, like you said, the plot stays pretty much under wraps until we get to that point. I mean, obviously, once the screenings go out, it's going to be fair game on the internet. That stuff's going to get out there once screenings hit. But
I
before
might get
that,
it. You never know. I
right.
might get them.
Oh, if you get it, oh, I'm going to be so jealous, dude. I'm going to be so jealous. But
But it comes out in August, right?
I believe August, yeah.
I will be deep in school by that time, so I'll
There
have to make time for it.
you go.
No sleep.
No sleep.
No sleep.
But no, it's exciting, dude. So I'm happy that we're getting this casting, and I'm hoping that we get a lot more castings soon because I mean it's August, so like there's a lot of again, we know about actually a lot of castings. We just don't know exactly who the characters are. Like
Mhm.
David Denman, I think is the name. Is that the character from the actor from The Office that
Yeah,
plays
I know you're.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think he's in the show, but we don't know like much about the character for sure who he's playing. I know there's some theories out there or like potential rumors, but nothing like rock solid yet. And there's a couple other names in the show too that I was like, oh, like I wonder who that person's playing. So,
There's also a lot of
yeah.
people coming back.
Yes, obviously we have a lot of returning cast members as well. And the first season is so, like you said, it goes to pretty grandiose places. And seemingly season two, from what Gunn said, is going to go even bigger and more into the sci-fi realm, if I remember correctly. So,
Let's
like,
go.
I'm curious what that entails. Like, what's the threat of this season, man? Like, I'm super interested. So, I'm ready for it. I'm here for it. I'm ready for more Peacemaker, man. It's about time. We need more of John Cena in that role because he is fan fucking tastic.
Yeah. Now switching gears to another thing.
Yeah.
Couple of things have happened in the last week. Lanterns. Nathan Fillion is going to join playing his Guy Gardner character that's in Superman. So cool. There, I mean, we've known this is connected, but
Yes.
now it's like officially official. It's out there. It's said. It's been
Yes.
put out. So I wonder, like, because we talked about this already about how far this story is happening from everything else.
Mhm.
Because it's in the America's heartland, which I'm going to just
Yeah.
assume the Midwest,
Mhm.
which metropolis. So I wouldn't be surprised that one of the post-credit scene, or if there's a moment in Superman movie that starts, making the connection, saying, guy says something, I've got something I need to go investigate. I got to go check something out. I heard about a couple guys doing something. Just
Mhm.
a throwaway line, something that's just like, okay. And then when you're watching Lanterns, you're like, oh, that's what he was talking about. There it is.
Right.
Um, and then the other thing was that Jasmine Cephas Jones is going to play Bernadette, a young version of John Stewart's mom. So we already know about the father, who's going to
Yes.
be an older and a younger version, but now a mother. So I wonder. Again, I don't know anything about John Stewart, but maybe you do. Does he lose his mom or anything, or is it?
I'm pretty much in the dark on Jon Stewart because again, I'm pretty new to comic reading. I've talked about this a couple times, but I've read some Lanterns. But the thing is, again, there's not really like a big Jon Stewart run to like go read and learn about all of the character. It's more
Mhm.
like there's some Jon Stewart stories within these bigger Green Lantern runs or Green Lantern Corps. So like they'll go into him for sure, and they'll explain a lot about him. But there's not like a specific run like you there is for Hal Jordan, where like you want to
I
learn all
gotcha.
you want to learn all about him. I can point you into the direction of a few different runs.
Okay,
It's a little harder to do that with Stewart specifically, even though there are
gotcha.
stories for him. So I haven't found it. Like I haven't gotten to that yet, but I want to because I love him so much in Justice League Unlimited and just
Yeah,
the Justice League animated series in general. Like that's really what made me fall in love with that character, that iteration. So I want to learn more about that character's background and what makes him tick and why he is the person he is. So that getting that background through his parents and his upbringing, both older and younger, is very exciting. So I'm ready
okay.
for Lanterns, man.
Yeah, I mean, the more they say things about it, the more exciting it gets.
Yeah.
And then
One more thing.
please.
Just want to add on Superman, just because a quote came out from Gunn today that I wanted to touch on, just because I found it interesting.
Mhm.
Before because that's it for DC beyond this, right?
Well, there was one other thing,
Oh, okay. What was the
but
other
it's
thing?
Supergirl.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can do both. Okay.
Yeah, we can knock him out fast.
Okay, so yeah, this one won't take too long. Just yeah, James Gunn had a cool quote about like his plot of the movie, which is not necessarily too different from what we know, but it just gives me a better idea of like what he's going for, even more so than we did already. The
Hmm.
exact quote was in regards to Clark Kent here, he is starting to become successful at both jobs in the big glitzy city so far away from home. He's madly in love with a woman who isn't so sure about him, and he's made a few superhuman friends who like him but think of him as naive. All these new elements in life have him unbalanced a bit, and as he's tottering, we're going to see where he lands in terms of his values and choices. Now, there's a couple elements in there that I really found interesting, specifically the fact that we're talking about Lois as somebody who's not so sure about him. So I was never totally sure whether or not they were going to go into this story with Lois already knowing that Clark is Superman, or if they were going to play on that. I that kind of gives at least to me the impression that like maybe she doesn't know and like she's
Yeah.
not sure that like about this Clark Kent guy, like who is this? And I'm not totally sure now. I originally thought they were going to go into it because Gunn already had this talk of like Superman's already a little bit into his run. He's still young, but like it's a year or two in. And I kind of got the vibe they didn't want to do like a bunch of not or this isn't necessarily origin stuff, but or very early Clark Kent stuff. And it seems like that there's at least a chance they still might be doing that with them, which honestly I'm here for because I think that could be such a fun dynamic between Brosnahan and Corn Sweat. I think that could be so cute and fun. And I want love stories back in these movies, man. And that's what makes this year so fun. We're getting them and we're getting Reed Richards and Sue Storm with Fantastic Four. Those are like two major power couples that are going to be at the forefront of the comic book genre. So that is so cool to me. But
Don't forget
yeah.
Wilson and Vanessa. Whew.
Or
That's a
Ryan.
joke. That's a joke.
Yeah. Or Adam. Adam. I said Ryan. Adam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Adam as well. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. God. Yeah, if there's anything in there you want to touch on before we move on to
The
Supergirl,
Super
yeah.
Friends thing, I thought it was pretty cool that like he establishes he has a working relationship with them. That's cool.
Yes.
I wonder which ones though, because there's zero chance it's all of them.
Right. I mean, well, Guy Gardner, I'm sure they're not gonna have a good relationship. But
Yeah. What about there's also the engineer and then Mr. Terrific,
yeah.
but you see them fighting in the trailer, so
Get
I'm wondering what that's all about.
right. This is me totally speculating. I don't know like the plot of this at all, but yeah, I guess because Mr. Terrific is probably gonna be, I guess, maybe tasked to work alongside Luther in some capacity, maybe as like a job, I'm
Mhm.
guessing. Because like the super team you'd imagine would be Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, and Hawkgirl. But it also seems like Mr. Terrific is off doing some other stuff too, maybe. So why is he maybe working with Luther a bit? Or the engineer? What's that about? Like I honestly have no idea what that storyline could be, but I will say, I am so excited to see the full version of that fight in the stadium, man. I have
Yes.
a feeling that fight's gonna be so good. I am like, oh, I get chilled just thinking about the small little clips we got from it. And I love that they committed so much to shooting on real locations because that was actually at the stadium, which is so cool. And I think it's the Guardian Stadium for baseball.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so they actually did film in that stadium, which is really cool. I remember all the BTS of it, seeing Corn Sweat on like a line, like flying through, and I'm like, oh, like they're committing so much to these practical effects and practical locations. Just that's what makes these movies from like the early 2000s that you're like, man, this still looks really good. That's how they age so well. They're not
Hmm.
relying too heavily on, digital
Visual effects.
effects. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
special effects, practical effects done through these fun and unique ways that a filmmaker like James Gunn is going to say, hey, let's tap into this. And you know what? I have a feeling when we watch this movie, it's going to be the biggest breath of fresh air compared to some of the movies we've gotten recently in the genre. Not to say they're all bad, even.
Right.
But just as far as the aesthetic of it go, I think it's going to be really fun and different from what we've gotten as of late.
I know this week that with Minecraft coming out, also Warner
Oh
Brothers thing,
yes,
they're doing a special look at it, and I'm like, nice try, but no, I'm not going to go see Minecraft just to get uh, to see this exclusive look.
you see, in my case, my girlfriend already wanted to go see Minecraft, so I lucked out. I'm gonna
Nice.
so
And
yeah,
now you have something to talk about next week. You can tell
yes,
me and you can tell the viewers because I want to hear about it. I'll probably watch some crappy screen recording
yeah.
on Twitter later this weekend, but you'll get to see it in a high definition. So I'm a little jealous of that, but
Yeah,
at the same time, I don't have to see Minecraft, so I win.
I'm seeing it in Dolby, so I'm gonna see
Oh,
it.
that's fun.
Yeah, I'm doing it in Dolby because the theater I'm going to, I'm doing like the dine-in thing. So
Yeah.
I think they only had Dolby for this movie there. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm seeing Minecraft in Dolby. And
Yeah,
now
that's fun, man.
and now they announced this. I'm like, oh my God, this is even better. This is great. So I'm hoping it's not IMAX exclusive because I know that was the thing that was talked about initially in Thailand.
Oh, maybe.
But they didn't say anything in the post today though about it being
Hmm.
IMAX exclusive. They just said for screenings this weekend for Minecraft. So
Okay.
I'd imagine they would have said IMAX if that was the case, because that would be misleading to people that are going to pay to go see it just for that. So
I also expect them to release it formally online and within a week. It's just something like, hey,
yeah,
if you go see Minecraft, you'll see it now. I
right.
understand. So the
So
last thing, and we can make it really quick,
yeah,
but James posted a picture of Millie holding the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow book by one of your favorite authors, Tom King, just saying that they're working on the movie and it comes out next year. It's just really exciting to know that they're working on it this well in advance and giving it plenty of time to breathe.
yeah, man, they're more than halfway into filming. Like they're very far along right now. Like yeah, that according to Momoa, they are more than halfway done filming already, and
Yeah.
that's like so exciting. I mean,
Oh, that's right. He's Lobo. I forgot.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's like the best
That's gonna be
casting
so
ever.
cool, man.
Oh my God. It's literally the best casting ever. Beyond it's funny. I actually I bought this giant book of Lobo comics that I'm gonna start reading to prepare myself to see this character because I have never read a single Lobo comic and I want to know more about the character because all I know is what I've seen in like some of the animated stuff on TV. So like now I'm gonna expand my knowledge a little bit on this character before Supergirl, even though I've already read the Woman of Tomorrow run. Lobo's not actually in that comic. They wanted to include Lobo, but through a number of edits that happened over time while they were drafting up the story, Lobo didn't make the cut. But
Okay.
now they're adding Lobo back into the story, and not as the main villain seemingly, but as like maybe like a smaller bounty hunter type of role is what I'm expecting. And I think that could be a fun way to build out the universe while still having Lobo play a natural part within the story. So I'm beyond excited, man. I think Millie's gonna kill it in this role, and I'm hoping we get a little tease of Millie and Superman this July, man. I'm really hoping she has a cameo, which has been the word for a while now. I'm hoping that stays true. But also just curious, do you think we get a trailer tonight? My gut says no, but I hope we do.
Probably not.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they're saving it for
I
Super.
wish.
Yeah, I think they're saving it for Superman Day on the 18th.
18th of this month?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and it
Knowing
falls.
Gunn,
Yeah,
knowing
right.
Gunn, yeah, he's probably just gonna do it the 18th. And you know what? That's fine. What's
Yeah,
17 days?
right. And it falls on a Friday too, so which is pretty
Oh,
perfect. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a great day to drop that. No, it'll be fun. That'll be fun. Something to look forward to for sure.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
last thing, because this is gonna, I wouldn't say it's gonna take us a little while, but we only have so much time left,
I know.
and I'm trying to be respectful of your time. I know you
No,
got other
no,
stuff to
no.
do.
You're fine. Don't worry. I want to
Oh,
discuss this, please.
oh no, we're going to talk about it. I'm just. That's why I'm moving us past
Yes, yes,
into it. So obviously, it's CinemaCon this week. A lot of
yes.
announcements are being made, but the huge one that we kind of foresaw coming was two pieces of news regarding our favorite superhero, Spider-Man.
Mhm.
So Spider-Man 4 is officially
Yes.
titled Brand New Day.
Mhm.
And then the other piece of news is Beyond the Spider-Verse is now coming out in 2027, supposedly June, the month of June. But they did provide a lot more insight in regarding Beyond the Spider-Verse. They didn't say very much about Brand New Day. It was just the director, Destin
Daniel
Daniel
Cretton.
Cretton,
Yeah.
like just being really excited about it all and all the stuff they're going to get to do. And then there was like a little featurette or like a tiny little like waving hello from Tom Holland about how he's excited to do it. Obviously, like you mentioned earlier, he's busy doing the Odyssey, so he couldn't be there. And obviously they can't really start on that movie until they're finished with Odyssey. But it's just exciting to finally have a title and knowing release date of July 31st, 2026.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean both are beyond exciting. I mean beyond. But beyond the Spider-Verse, I mean, people were like, "Oh, it's taking so long." But I mean, the gap between the first and second movie was 5 years, and you know what?
Oh yeah, it was.
Right,
This
it
is
was.
4 years. Yeah.
Yeah, this is 4 years, and I just want to make sure they get the movie right, more than anything. And animation for this, especially this caliber of animation, man,
Yeah.
it takes a long time to really get that as good as it is. So if you really want to keep seeing this animation at such a pristine level, gonna have to wait a few years, man. That's the way it has to be, even if you
But
have the script ready.
But on the topic of
Yeah,
animation, apparently they're supposed to feature an entirely new animation. So I don't know, does that mean it's a different character or they're just experimenting with a new method? There's so many like exciting things just to like unpack there.
right.
Um, this to me is like as big of a trilogy as Star Wars, the original, like
Yes.
because there was gaps in between and everything, but it was like one cohesive story start to finish. We're following this character. We're seeing a bunch of cool characters on the side that work alongside him, that help him, that betray him, that work against him. Like it just reminds me of the original trilogy. Obviously, it's not the same,
Hmm.
clearly, but there's just so much. It's the hero's journey. It's working against prophecy. Like
Hmm.
I see a lot of parallels that are really exciting.
Yeah.
Those two movies to me are fantastic, start to finish, no notes. And if it takes them 2 more years from now to finish off, do it. I'd rather it done well than done quickly.
Right.
Um, and the last thing is that it picks up immediately after the second film, which honestly not that surprising.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a little gap between the first and the second, but it was kind of only natural that
Right.
Miles was going to spend a little time being Spider-Man and kind of getting a little bit more comfortable with it before something happens that would bring you into the fold and a new story and all the
Hmm.
cool fun characters we got introduced. But I really love the fact that it's like this because again, like Star Wars, we picked up like this happened. We're like, now I have to wait. And then it happens again. And we're going to pick up and finish that story. Like, I'm excited for Beyond the Spider-Verse. And they also released 5 images.
Yes.
I linked them below, but
Mhm.
it's really cool. Like the first one's got Prowler, the Miles
Yeah.
Prowler. The second one shows Miles, original Miles with Gwen. The third image is Miles, I think, experiencing spider sense of some sort.
Yeah.
And then another one of Miles versus Prowler, and then just one of Miles himself. But um, it's cool that they at least gave something,
Yes.
because we're not going to see anything for a while.
Correct.
But I do wonder that if there's a chance in Brand New Day that they do like they did with the original movie of sharing a little. Well, no, actually, that was Venom. I'm so sorry, I'm wrong. But remember when Venom came out that they added a little bit at the very, very end of the movie? There was like a
Oh
little
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Since Sony's only working on Spider-Man 4, God bless, thank God.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that would be a really great avenue to do it. I don't know if they want to try to avoid confusion and everything, but there's multiverse there too, likely. Well, I wouldn't say obviously, but very likely. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that there's a chance we could see a little bit of Beyond the Spider-Verse? Because look at the title of the name, Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Right. No, that's a valid point. I mean, look, looking at where the MCU is, we're in this battle world stage going into this, section of Spider-Man 4 where I think now connections between the two are certainly possible. I mean, especially because looking at, this upcoming Beyond the Spider-Verse movie, it comes out after Secret Wars. So, like, are they really not going to have those characters ever interact within that Avengers realm? Especially with all the talk of them bringing animation into live action for those Avengers movies. Like, I don't see why they can't, like, have some clearer through lines between those two stories while also, doing a sneak peek with, maybe they do add, like, a little tease or something in Spider-Man 4, I think that there's a lot of possibilities here, but. I will say, I'm looking at the images you sent. They're so beautiful. Oh my God,
Oh,
the animation is so good. It's like a painting. Like it's actually unreal that it's a movie. Like that's going to be from an animated movie we're getting in 2 years. That's how I felt looking at some of the stuff from Across the Spider-Verse before. Like, oh my God, like when they go to the look of Vulture early in the movie, that classic look he has, like
Renaissance
very
one.
yeah, Renaissance Vulture. Yes.
That was awesome.
Oh my God. And just across that whole movie, they play with the animation style so well, man. And the
Yeah.
fact that they're talking about even more experimentation and new styles, like please give me all of that. I want it because you guys have never failed me yet, and I don't think you're going to fail me now. I don't. I think, like you said, a Star Wars comparison is warranted because there are a lot of parallels. And as far as the quality of storytelling, there's also parallels, man. This could go down as one of the best trilogies ever
Yeah.
if they really hit a home run on this finale here, which again, I don't see why you would doubt them with the quality of work thus far. We literally have two masterpieces, no notes at all for me at least.
Yeah.
I think at the time I remember I gave it a 9 out of 10 for the second movie. I watched it again. I was like, no, 10 out of 10. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's
And I'm
perfect.
sure like it gets better after watching the last one. Because that's also how I felt with Star Wars. I'm like, these were great. But when you go back and see the whole story and then go through it
Yes.
again, there's so many little things you're like, oh, it makes sense. They link, they play together so well.
Hmm.
But the reason why I asked you the question about Brand New Day and all that is because remember, in Across the Spider-Verse, what is Miguel Harp on? Doctor Strange and that little nerd in
Yes.
1999. I mean,
Yes.
they clearly, directly, without any sort of confusion,
Yes.
mention that. You can't just be like, oh, yeah, that was just because we want to do it. No, there's something there. There has to be. And then if you
Yes.
go and watch the movie with the director's commentary, they talk about the multiverse
Mhm.
heavily and the branches, everything that had to do with Loki. I mean, it wasn't like coincidence. They talk about heavily for a reason. That's
Yes.
why I'm just thinking there has to be something there. And they
Yeah.
showed, the Prowler from well, a supposed variant Prowler from Tom Holland. I mean, they got Donald Glover to play Aaron Davis again.
Yes.
You don't just do that for no reason.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, to me, there's no chance that we do not see any crossovers between the two worlds before the end of Beyond the Spider-Verse, whether it's maybe a tiny bit in Brand New Day, depending on what the storyline is there, or if it's in Secret Wars or Doomsday, or if it's just in Beyond the Spider-Verse where you have some of these characters come into the fold for just that finale of the culmination of all these spider characters. Like, no matter what, there will be a connection. There will be some kind of crossover happening between those two worlds. If there isn't, I would be beyond shocked. I'd be like more than shocked. Really. I just don't see a world where that doesn't happen. I mean, Jesus, Sony is all about money. That is
That's
money.
easy money.
Like, come on, like, come, you have to.
Easy money.
Yeah.
So last thing that I have some wants and wishes for the movie. There's one particular thing I want. It's weird, but I really
Mhm.
want it. Since Across the Spider-Verse ends with all those variants of Spider-Man from the first movie showing up, what I really would like is that another Chris Pine Spider-Man makes away, like another variant, like the original Spider-Man that the first movie starts with, the one that dies sacrificing and all that.
Mhm.
If anything that would make me really happy is that they managed, not him, obviously he's dead, right?
Mhm.
But bring a variant and have Chris Pine play the character one more time because I really did enjoy his bits. He was great. I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm also just a big Chris Pine fan. He's hilarious. He's you know to me he works in any role he's in. I'm always a fan of. And when I watched the movie for the first time, I didn't realize it was him until I started watching the credits, and I'm like, oh my god, like that. I'm like, I knew I recognized the voice, but since you only see him for what 10-ish
Yeah.
minutes before he dies, it didn't really click that far in there. But it was just incredible, and if anything, please give me one more Chris Pine
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
No, I'm with you on that. That'd be so fun. I mean, he's a great actor. I mean, bringing him back is never going to be a negative in my book. So please, I'm all in with you on that idea. And really, my hope for this next movie when they get to it, um, go crazier, man. Your second movie went so crazy. Go crazier with the experimentation, like I was saying, with the animation style, and keep making ambitious storytelling choices. That's all I need. Keep doing that, which is what you've been doing, and I'm sure it's going to be a beautiful result in the end. And same applies with Brand New Day, man. I want just a beautiful story. Cretton talked about it as a very emotional story, and I think that based on where we left off, there's a ton of room for an emotional story. So please see that through and really do the right thing with Tom Holland's character.
Mhm.
I understand we're going into the multiverse, and I can even live with that. I'm willing to compromise here if it makes sense within the world, but don't do it at the expense of this character story because I had some issues with the character at different points, but what they do with him in No Way Home, I think, is more than fantastic. I think it's
Mhm.
incredible, and I don't want to mess with that. I really want to build on that in a way that's natural without shortchanging what should be a really beautiful arc of him being stuck as Spider-Man and abandoning Peter Parker as a person before he learns that, you can be both again. With you can be friends with people, you can go back to college and interact, you can actually have a life. It doesn't just have to be one or the other, as even though it might seem that way. I think seeing that in a more natural way and him really reflecting on his struggles, his grief, that is what this movie should be focusing on. If that's going to be within the lens of the multiverse, that's fine. But just don't lose sight of it is really my big thing here. If you do that, I'm sure it's going to be a great movie.
I just had a light bulb.
Yeah.
So remember in the first trilogy
Hmm.
that the recurring theme in the names were home,
Yeah.
homecoming, far from home, no way home. I think that the new trend for this one is going to be new, brand
New.
new
Yeah.
day. Is it kind of feels like kind of obvious, but like thinking of the title, like brand new day, like okay, they're really trying to pose this as a new Spider-Man because he's gone through the tribulations, he's lost the
Right.
people he's lost and everything. So, do you have any thoughts on the title of the movie? Because I've been trying to make sense of it, but it's only been 17-ish hours, so I haven't
Right.
really put much thought into it. But do you have anything?
I mean, I know it's based on a comic run that I have not read.
Yeah, I haven't read it either.
And I believe in that comic run, like it is kind of at least some themes of it seem to be apparent, like where he's abandoning a lot of his life as Peter Parker, or he's kind of moving on from MJ because he thinks he has to, stuff like that. So, there might be some real influence coming from that original storyline. I don't know for a fact, I think I just saw this somewhere that Martin Lee was part of that storyline as well, which I would love. I would love to see him as part of the Spider-Man 4 story. He's so great in the Insomniac games as the
Yeah,
villain.
he's in it.
And
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
looking at it now.
okay,
I'm just
yeah,
like briefly looking at it, but basically, like you said, um, it's following what happens in One More Day, which is basically what happened in
With
No
No
Way
Way
Home.
Home. Yeah.
Yeah, erasing stuff. Harry Osborn's alive again. Aunt May is alive. Okay, that I don't see happening.
Right.
And then um, it has to do with the registration act. So yeah, obviously they don't always they'll grab a name, they won't
Right.
implement everything, which is fine. You don't always have to do that.
But it's intentional. I think it's very intentional as far as the themes go, though.
Yeah, but one thing I could totally see happening, and I would be very happy to see
Hmm.
occurring in this movie, is now that J. Jonah
Jameson.
Jameson,
There you go.
oh my God, doesn't know who he is, he's going to be
Yeah.
more liable to hire him because he
Yes.
was the one that unmasked him. So like, does
Right.
this mean we're going to finally see the Daily Bugle? We're going to see
Jeez.
Robbie Robertson. We're going to see like all the fun people there.
Yes.
Like, oh man, yeah, and it's a brand new day, like a new
Yeah.
opportunity, new everything.
No, you're totally right, dude. I mean, I think the name is very fitting, both because of its comic roots, but also, like you said, just in a literal sense, it is a brand new day, man. This is a new era of Spider-Man, and that's been said from the beginning, that once we move on from this home trilogy, it's going to be a whole new vibe for Peter Parker, and I think that that should be reflected in both the story, the tone of the movie, everything. I don't want this to feel like the home trilogy beyond maybe just, some elements that are inherent to it that are going to happen, but like for the most part, I really do want this to feel super fresh, and a new director helps with that.
I was about to say, yep,
Yeah,
that's a
right.
great start. No, go ahead. I
So
was just agreeing with
yeah,
you.
I was to say I do like what John Watts did. I think he did a really good job with that trilogy. I think the John Hughes vibes are good for what that early part of the trilogy needed to be. But now that we're moving on to Spider-Man, I really want to capture the grand and epic scope of that character in the way we did in the Raimi movies or in the Mark Webb movies, even, which I have my issues with the times. But as far as the scale and the style of it go, not at all. I mean, absolutely
Hmm.
beautiful movies. So if we can get back to some of that in the new trilogy, if it is even a trilogy, I'll say for now Spider-Man 4, then I would be so happy, dude. So I'm here for it, man. We're very close to it. It's a year away. This movie comes
Yeah.
out July 2026. It's gonna come before you know it.
Oh man, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
I loved also the new logo. That's the last thing
Yes.
at that. But I love the new logo, the
Yes.
colors. So they were talking about the suit. Destin was, and they didn't say a whole lot, but just like how excited they are to work on things. And he named the suit. I'm like, the
Yeah.
suit, like the suit. Yes,
Yeah.
the suit. The one we got to see at No Way Home. That's what I want to see, bro.
Yeah, man. Oh, it's gonna be so fun, dude. This is so exciting. We got to talk about so much today. This is so awesome, and we're gonna have more next week because CinemaCon's gonna be rolling through the rest of the week. So I'm sure between now and then, we're gonna have more than a few things to discuss. So
You're gonna have that Superman to talk
yes,
about.
that too. That too.
I can't wait
So
for you to tell me all about it.
oh no, next episode is gonna be a blast, dude. But this has been fantastic. Anything you want to add before we wrap up?
If you're not playing Marvel Rivals, what are you doing with your free time?
You know what? I have not played Marvel Rivals, so maybe I need to get on that.
They added the Moon Knight MCU suit, and he's the character I play the most. So like, I didn't even hesitate. The moment I got home from work, I went and bought it. I didn't care. I was like, I can afford it. It's $20, whatever. And then I went hard in a couple matches, and it was really fun because he does the thing where he puts his arms out and
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like one of the emotes. I'm just like, God, I love this game so much.
I've seen the gameplay. It looks fantastic. I think it's really cool that they have a game like that for Marvel fans. I want a DC version now, please. But
One day.
anyway, this has been fantastic, Marvin. Thank you so much for hopping on. This is always
It's always a
fun.
pleasure, bro.
Episode 3 was maybe my favorite so far. I loved all of them, but this one was really fun. And we got plenty more to come on the next one. So everybody,
Yep.
thank you so much for your time. And this has been episode 3 of Capes and Crossovers. Bye, everybody.
That's a wrap on this episode of Capes and Crossovers. Thanks for joining me and Marvin on this journey through the world of heroes. If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with a fellow fan, and let's keep building a community rooted in sincerity and celebration. Until next time, keep your cape flying high and your hearts open to the next big crossover. See you next time.